Thanks for joining us this morning as we review our third Christmas movie during our Putting Christ Back into Christmas week. Today we're reviewing Charlie Brown Christmas, otherwise known as...
My tree ain't big and shiny, but it's the way God made it.
Yes, indeed. So the movie selection this week is based on reviewer polls. It was selections that you guys made. And we have spoilers right away. This movie has been out for, well, not really a movie. It's more of a TV special.
Oh, no, this is not a movie.
No, it's very short.
Don't go in expecting a long one.
Yeah, no, not at all. It's sort of like the
one.
original Grinch, which was like 25 minutes or so, and then expanded into a movie. They did not turn this into a live action. I wonder how Charlie Brown would look on a live action.
Creepy.
Yeah, probably.
And all the adults. Yeah,
I'm not sure how that would work. But since we have spoilers, if you haven't seen it, go ahead and watch it. We're going to be reviewing quite a bit of it today. And then asking the question, is grief good? And are there 10 ways that grief is good? We also had a poll out to get your feedback for that. The response was pretty good. And we'll go through the answers that you had for that. It's a little surprising for me. And so we'll see that after a bit. The plot of the movie show, TV special, was basically that Charlie Brown Christmas was first aired in 1965, created by Charles Sparky Schulz. That's the nickname he went by, Sparky. I don't know how he got that. They called him Sparky.
Sparky.
Yeah.
I hope that was not an electrical issue.
It could have been. It follows the beloved Peanuts character's Charlie Brown as he grapples with the commercialization of Christmas and a sense of disillusionment during the holiday season. Feeling out of sync with his festive preparations and materialistic attitudes of his peers, Charlie Brown embarks on a quest to discover the true meaning of Christmas. Along the way, he encounters such familiar characters as Snoopy, Linus, and Lucy with their own perspectives on Christmas. Linus, in a memorable scene, recites the biblical story of the birth of Jesus, offering a poignant reminder of the true meaning of Christmas. In the end, Charlie Brown's simple, heartfelt choices, including his selection of the pitiful, little, humble Christmas tree, help convey the message of embracing. It was a branch.
It's not a tree. You look at it like, oh, pick this one. I'm like, no, it's a branch.
But it kind of conveys a meaning. We'll go over to that in just a bit. He embraces the genuine spirit of the season by finding joy in the company of friends and loved ones and the final end. So did you watch this movie at all when you were growing up as a kid?
Not really too much.
No, not too much.
My kids definitely have seen it a lot. They like Charlie Brown.
So when I grew up, this was like once a year, always shown, just like with the Grinch and everything else. Rudolph and the others, they would be shown on broadcast TV, where you have the 3 channels that you could watch, and that's about it. When they first saw the show, the executives that were producing, there was a big rush to get this done because an opportunity opened up and they had to do it like right now. But when the CBS executives saw the show, they were horrified at the idea of an animated Christmas special with such a blatant message, having Linus talk actually the Bible and everything.
Yeah.
They also strongly object to the fact that it didn't have a laugh track and the canned laughter and everything. And it was slow in their opinion, and the music didn't fit it. They didn't like the jazz, and it used amateurish children's voices. They actually had children actors do the voices for this. But they didn't have a choice. The CBS executives, their backs were against the wall. It was finished, and they had promised their sponsor, Coca-Cola, that they would do it. They were out of time.
Aren't they glad they actually did it?
Well, they aired it thinking that they would only run it once.
Oh,
and that would be it.
That was it.
And hoping, figuring it was going to bomb and that everyone was just going to forget it. Well, it didn't bomb. No one forgot it. And it's been running every Christmas since 1965.
And Christmas tree branch sales have skyrocketed.
Except for one, and I'll hit that later. it crashed. So we want to take a look at some of the themes of this, and it's this is pretty straightforward. It's a short show. There's going to be simple things that are dealt with in this, and this is really, it is a kid's show, but adults liked it too. Charlie Brown Christmas is a classic animated TV special. Like we said, it was first aired in 1965, and it became a holiday tradition. While the primary focus of the movie is on the secular aspects of Christmas, the trees, the lights, and decoration, and the play they have in there and everything like that, there is also some not so subtle Christian themes present. And here are a few. Charlie Brown's transformation. And we're going to take a look at Charlie Brown's always just kind of, I wouldn't say he's grumpy, but he's kind of this.
He's mopey.
He's mopey. Mopey is a good way to put it. And let's take a look at one of those situations.
There must be something wrong with me, Linus. Christmas is coming, but I'm not happy. I don't feel the way I'm supposed to feel. I just don't understand Christmas, I guess. I like getting presents and sending Christmas cards and decorating trees and all that, but I'm still not happy. I always end up feeling depressed.
Charlie Brown, you're the only person I know who can take a wonderful season like Christmas and turn it into a problem.
I think that explanation basically capsulizes Charlie Brown's personality quite well.
I'm watching this. I'm thinking of Linus as like Sam Gamgee, and you have this depressed main character who's carrying this burden. And in case of Charlie Brown, it's more this depression that he's carrying. But and then you have Linus there. It's like, come on, buddy, let's go, and I'll help you out with
Frodo,
this.
don't you know?
Yeah. There's a lot of going on.
Christmas time is here.
So throughout the movie, Charlie Brown struggles with his feelings of inadequacy. He never really matches up, and we didn't have any football scenes in this. But when Lucy takes a football away, that's a lot that happens there with that. And he also has this disillusionment with his the commercial aspects of Christmas, and everybody else just like into that. And he's saying this is just so plastic. It's so fake. So to help him overcome his depression, he talks to Lucy, and Lucy says, well, you need to help others.
What fear do you have?
Yeah, that was a good one. What
fear do you have? What fear? No, it's nothing to do with that. It's
all of them.
I'm not feeling it.
Right. And so she does suggest, this is not a bad thing. So this is actually a pretty good thing to go over with this whole idea of grief. And I'm glad you guys chose this one, because you have people going through this time of year. It's dark, it's cold outside, depending on where you live in the world. Sam, who lives down in Australia, is probably enjoying surfing or something like that today. But it's a time of year where it tends to just be clammy and depressing just by the weather itself. And add on top of that, if you have festivities where people are getting together and for some reason you're left out, or maybe there's someone you loved who have died there during this time of year recently and over the last few years, it can be pretty depressing. And so you do have a lot of people who struggle with depression during Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, these holiday seasons. And I know around the world that some of these times and seasons are Eastern Orthodox celebrate Christmas a little bit later. But it's this general time that we have here where it's easy for people to kind of fall into depression.
Oh, yeah. And Blue Christmas is a very popular music song that plays.
Right.
It's all about, lost loved ones and not being able to see them at Christmas and all of this by Elvis. So yeah.
Right. And so even if you are enjoying this time and you're wrapped up in this and you get all these plans and everything like that, we need to remember those who are left out, those who maybe have a reminder of losing someone. So they would identify strongly with Charlie Brown. And so part of what he does is to help overcome this depression. He gets himself involved in this play that comes up. And he decides that he is going to get a tree.
What's the matter, Charlie Brown? Don't you think it's great?
It's all wrong.
Look, Charlie, let's face it. We all know that Christmas is a big commercial racket. It's run by a big Eastern syndicate, you know.
Well, this is one play that's not going to be commercial.
Look, Charlie Brown, what do you want?
The proper mood. We need a Christmas tree.
Hey, perhaps a tree. A great, big, shiny aluminum Christmas tree. That's it, Charlie Brown. You get the tree. I'll handle this crowd.
So, okay, so
Go get the tree. Yeah.
right now in 1965, aluminum trees were very popular at the time. I think they came out in 58 or so. Aluminum trees. And you look at it now and say, that seems so plastic and chintzy and just gaudy. Who would want an aluminum tree? Well, then they would have, and that would have been considered modern and stylish and everything. So in the end, he chooses not one of these big ones, but something else.
This really brings Christmas close to a person.
Fantastic.
Yeah, all these big trees. Whoa.
Gee, do they still make wooden Christmas trees?
This little green one
Make
here
wooden-
seems to need a home.
It's me.
So he grabs this thing. Yeah, they
Wooden
still
Chris-
make
they
these.
Still make wooden Christmas tree?
Can you
What?
imagine that?
This is weird.
It's so funny. The more we go plastic, more we want things to look natural. It's going the other direction. So in the end, he chooses this small, humble Christmas tree that others have rejected. His choice reflects the Christian message of finding value in simplicity and humility, much like the humble beginnings of Jesus in the manger, much like God saying, you know what? That human race is pretty messed up. I gave him a chance to choose the right thing, but they blew it. Instead of washing his hands, turn the other way and saying, I think I'll just start over. And by the way, he didn't make the mistake in creating human beings with that. You might say, well, you're saying that God just blew it. No, he didn't. He just gave us free will. He says, you guys can choose what you want. We said, we're going to choose not you. And so
Let my will, not yours, be done.
that's right. And it was a mess. And God could have said, all right, fine. Next. And then create a whole new universe, whole new world or whatever, and put other beings in there. Instead, he didn't. And so just like Charlie Brown choosing that Christmas tree, it was a reminder of God choosing us. Now, aluminum trees, there's a little bit of trivia here. When they did this, and they showed this after showing this movie, and it was, like I said, it was pretty popular in 65 when it came out. Aluminum Christmas trees sales plummeted. It was the end of the aluminum Christmas tree. I'm not kidding.
Charlie Brown killed the Christmas trees.
He did. They
The
no longer
aluminum Christmas trees.
Good
man.
luck in trying to find one now. They're probably like really rare.
They're probably like extremely expensive.
now they're cool again, right?
You know, they're like collector things, and anyone that had an aluminum tree, stored it in their basement, kept it in decent condition, is now a millionaire because they could get this
That's right.
aluminum tree.
That's
All
Bitcoin.
because of Charlie Brown. He
I
made
have-
me rich. There you go.
That's right. I've invested in aluminum Christmas trees, and now I'm rich.
I mean, that would suck if you were actually like, oh, I see these aluminum Christmas trees doing fantastic. I'm going to invest in them. And then Charlie Brown comes around and just ruins the entire investment.
Yeah, well, he just did you in. So he brings it back in, and we've got
We're
this.
back.
And you would think that everybody would just love him, say, "Oh, I understand what you're saying. This is so much better."
Charlie Brown. What kind of a tree is that? You are supposed to get a good
Kids are
tree.
jerks.
Can't you even tell a good tree
They're
from a
the
poor
worst.
tree? I told you he'd goof it up. He's not the kind of you can
Jeez.
depend
Guys,
on.
cut the guy a
anything
kid a
right.
break.
You're hopeless, Charlie Brown. Completely hopeless.
Well, to be honest, kids are pretty brutal, but still.
Yeah. So,
Or Charlie Brown, man. He
was,
can't
man.
do anything right.
This is really helping the whole depression thing. Well, okay, so that was theme number 1 about Charlie Brown's transformation, and we'll see more of that later. But there's also this idea of community togetherness, which would be a second Christian theme.
That was not community together.
No.
Yes, that was more like
No.
community gang up on you.
Yeah. Yep. Poor Charlie
Get
Brown.
the pitchforks.
They changed you in the end, but spoiler. Community and togetherness. The movie highlights the importance of community and togetherness during the holiday season. And although they mock his tree now and mock him relentlessly, in the end, his classmates help him by decorating the tree and showing him that they accept him. And this aligns with the Christian values of love and compassion coming together to celebrate the birth of Christ. Now, here's the clincher. This whole idea of love and togetherness and kumbaya, and we're all holding hands and everybody is accepting and loving each other. That doesn't really happen on a permanent level unless it's the birth of Christ. This is not as simplistic, and in the message here, it's not just the simplistic message of generic coming together for inclusive seasonal gathering. This is coming together to celebrate the birth of Christ, something that you don't get when you take Christ out of Christmas. And they didn't do that in here. So let me, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit when they do fix his tree at the end. I think it's here.
Behold, I bring you tidings of grace.
No, it's not.
That's not it.
No. Thank you.
This is fixing the tree.
Yes, fixing the tree. Sorry.
A little bit of movement after.
Yeah, so he has
I
this
never
thing.
thought
These
it
guys
was such a bad little tree.
come together finally at the end.
It's
and they
not
help
bad
him
at
out.
all, really.
And so this is the
Maybe it
togetherness
just
that we're
needs a little
talking about.
love.
And I love the animation. It's so simplistic. I mean, this is not CGI, right?
No.
They did not.
This is hand-drawn.
The hand-drawn, totally hand-drawn. But that was only because, and this is really the big thing that happens in here with this, you don't see this in any other show today. You really didn't see it even back then. There's a little bit of, I'm not sure about this when wanting to put this in. But this is the key part that happens in this story. This is the that pushes everything over. Linus.
People. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. And this shall be a sign unto you. You shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host praising God, and saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men.
So Linus says this as a way of explanation to Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown says, I don't even understand what is the true meaning of Christmas. Here you go. He comes out and says this. Now, this was not even easy back in 65. Charles Sparky Schulz made the unilateral decision to put in an actual quote from the Bible. His compatriots, Bill Melendez and Lee Mendelson, were shocked and said, that's never been done before. See, there was some of the attitude wasn't so much, oh, we have to be inclusive. We have to have everybody represented. We can't say anything about that. When it comes to Christ, of course, we can say that about other religions and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
That comes in. But you can't say that. You can't actually quote the Bible like that. It wasn't because of that. It was because they didn't want the Bible being necessarily put into a common thing, into a like cartoon. That was like you're putting something sacred into something sacrilegious or something. But he replied, Charles Schulz replied, if we don't do it, who will? The renowned world-known cartoonist felt the Bible verses were not just for the church or the priesthood. He said they're for everyone. If we don't do it, who will? And I don't know of any other than strictly Christian movies where something like this is done. No. This is, you definitely don't see it in any other traditional Christmas movies that come out now. I mean, you can see how far we've come from this. So the true meaning of Christmas, the central theme of the movie, revolves around Charlie Brown's search for this, what this is. He knows it's not commercialism, and then Linus comes out and says this. Yeah, and that was the main thrust, and they actually pulled it off and got away with it. So it's pretty cool.
It's interesting that was the argument, that this is something so sacred that we don't want to include it, because we don't want to diminish its value. I would definitely have said the opposite, where it needs to be everywhere, talked about every single situation. Definitely like every Christmas, focus highly on this. And if it doesn't have it, then it needs to be
Yeah.
added.
Yeah. Well, next week I'm going to be looking at arguing with AI to see if I can convince AI
Human
that
versus AI.
this is the reason for this. See if we can find out, is there really a good argument, just for a totally secular Christmas? I mean, should we have what should our focus be on here? So a little bit of trivia then with Charlie Brown Christmas won an Emmy for Outstanding Children's Program in 1966. And when Sparky, Charles Schulz, went up with his two compatriots to accept as an acceptance speech, he simply said, Charlie Brown's not used to winning. So we thank you. That was it.
That's pretty good.
So to help bring in, this is another thing here too, to help bring an end to the brief fad of aluminum trees, and that's what we talked about earlier, that the brief fad, this is the show that deep six that. I want to take a look at it. Here we got a couple of comments to bring up. And Sherry says, our town has a mysterious person who puts up a Charlie Brown tree on a popular road every year. Has become tradition. Impactful movie still. How would you know? I would look at that little Christmas tree and say a branch has
well,
blown
it
off.
counts if there's like a red
one
red ornament on it.
That's fine.
Then it's like, oh, that's classic.
Yes, it is.
Without it, it's trash. But with it, it's classic.
Yes, without it, it's just a branch. With it, it is actually something else. So I did not do this earlier. We are going to be going over your. Thank you. Here, I'll give this to you while I'm trying to talk. We're going to go over your a poll that we had given out to say what. Okay, Sherry's got one there. We'll get back to you, Sherry. We're going to do this poll here first. All right, so scroll up if you don't mind. There we go. All right, so on the poll it says, can grief, sharp sorrow, painful regret, and luti, which is the Greek word that's used in the New Testament for that. I put that out for our friends in Greece. Can grief be good? And if so, when? And by far, I think by the stats here, by the number of votes, it works out that there are 2 votes saying never. I'm not sure if somebody was actually serious about this. You could put a poll out, and it's not like they're going to.
No, if you're a secular individual, and this goes out to the public, if you're a secular individual, that would be your answer.
Not necessarily. There's a lot of people that do see that where
I know it's not necessarily, but I'm saying from their perspective, they can say that. Definitely, if they hold pleasure and enjoyment and as the ultimate good.
Yeah, I was surprised as many
people.
The
ultimate evil.
I was surprised as many people said it could be good. So
I voted. I said it could definitely be good.
Okay. Always ask now. This is there's some really good responses that were in here. This is from Jay Aldridge, 9520. He said, "I always ask the Lord to be with people when they are in grief. Of course, He will be with them, but it seems to help people that are grieving to hear that you are thinking them, praying for them. God bless." And I think it's more than just a psychological hearing, that there is God answers prayers. So there is that He is everywhere present. Yes, He is going to be with them. He is going to have compassion on them, whether you pray for them or not. But I think there's an extra special touch from the Lord that's made when we pray. Threatened Sanity said people who have been through grief are more empathetic, caring, and compassionate towards others. They can see and understand because they have been there. If someone healthy overcomes grief becomes stronger, wiser, and ready to support others. Also, in my humble opinion, when you are in the state of complete dark, when you finally see that glimpse of light, oh, the brightness of it all. That is so true. It's like, fasting for a while and finally getting food, or being on a long hike and or doing a lot of work and getting some rest. Having that bright light there at the end of the tunnel definitely helps. Isgul said, grief can be good. By going through times of sorrow and pain, we can learn empathy for others. It seems to be a really strong theme here, understanding what others go through. we can learn empathy for others, and times of joy can be treasured. We are called to follow the man of sorrow. This is different nuance that he brings in here. We are called to follow the man of sorrow, to ultimately give up our lives for his sake. There is so much pain and sorrow and grief in this life, it can be overwhelming, but when eternity dawns, Jesus has promised to share his joy with those who put their trust in him. Great. These are all fantastic. Gift of Gumption says, it's better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting, for that is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart. Sorrow is better than laughter, for by the sadness of the countenance, the heart is made better. You can tell this is Ecclesiastes because it's so somber. Ecclesiastes 7:2-3. And Adam Schaffsma, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, 58:39 says, a world without grief would not point to the need for saving. Now, this is an important point, too.
Oh, yeah.
Until it's like, some people may not know they need to eat until you're hungry. So, I believe God's given us these different desires and so forth to get us to do certain things. And with grief, you may not know that you need saving. It's a tragic and heart-wrenching as so many things are in this world without grief caused by us most exclusively. And that is true. We tend to grieve each other more than just grief in life itself. We would go blissfully into the lake of fire. On top of that, grief can teach us, refine us, and make us stronger in the Lord. Those who don't know him, I guess, don't have this perspective. And so it seems senseless to the rest of the world. I'm not sure how they make it through each day. There's a lot of great, I had a list of 10 things, and I think you guys are really just hitting all of them right here with these responses. And Helsinki Skies, our friend in Finland, said, grief can definitely be good, but only if you're willing to learn from it. And
that's it.
That is
He's
key.
got it.
Yeah, because, you can't. What's the alternative? You actually can, if you're going through grief, become bitter and nasty and just angry at the world and God and everybody else. You have that choice. You can go that direction.
Also, you can become obsessed with the past.
Yes.
You can become so focused on that it consumes your future.
Yep.
And in both of those cases, those are the wrong reactions.
Yes.
And it ends up being worse for you. But yet, there's great opportunity for growth.
Yes. Another bad way that you could handle it, too, is just become callous. You see other people that have gone through what you do, instead of being empathetic towards them, you can say, yeah, you'll get over it. Yeah, I've seen it all before. And just hardened by this. And that's what it reminds me of Moses and Pharaoh, God hardening his heart. How could God harden someone's heart? That's so God see, that proves God is evil by hardening people's hearts. But somebody mentioned it's a lot like having they said they had two things in the back of their car on a hot summer day. They had a chocolate cake that was a slice of chocolate cake and a chocolate bar. And they came back after being in the store, and the chocolate bar had melted and the chocolate cake had hardened. And they're two different things that go through the same kind of pressure. It's almost like the heat of God's presence then making that change. And it's because of the disposition of the material itself that it either becomes soft or becomes hard. And these kind of situations too, with grief, we can choose whether we go one direction or the other. So continuing what Helsinki Sky says, grief can definitely be good, but only if you're willing to learn from it. If you're dealing with grief, read C.S. Lewis's book, A Grief Observed. Great book. That book helped me tremendously. And had I not read it and worked through my crap, then the outcome would have been very different indeed.
Yeah, I think that's the answer to a lot of issues. Read the Bible, read C.S. Lewis.
Yeah, there's more to it than that.
There's more to it than that, but I really enjoy C.S. Lewis.
Yes.
So whenever C.S. Lewis comes up, I'm like,
yeah. There's a lot of good there. So I have another follow-up comment from Sherry. She's talking about the Charlie Brown Christmas tree. She said, one ball spindly and Linus blanket at its base. That is awesome. Yep. That is awesome in its simplicity.
It's so simple, but It means a lot, and it communicates a lot. Now, there's one other thing about grief that I wanted to focus on, and this is about mourning more, but that would fall under the same umbrella. It's Matthew 5:4,
Okay.
where Jesus said, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted."
Oh,
I mean, seriously, think about that for a second. So God of all creation is saying you are blessed for mourning,
right.
for going through this pain and sorrow.
What a contradiction.
Yeah, it's not something you would normally think of.
Yeah.
It's not something you find in Islam or in any other religion for that matter, where the people who are broken, who are miserable, who are suffering are blessed. You know, they're not the elite, not the people that got their act together.
I'm not familiar with Buddhism, but I wonder if there's some of that in there. So someone else would have to
Maybe.
comment on that.
It's
So
mostly
I don't know if I would say a blanket statement for all other religions, but I know where
in
you're coming
Buddhism,
from
it's
that.
mostly get better
Yeah, but there's
by
a lot
meditation and getting rid of and releasing that mourning. You're not blessed for going through the mourning. You're more releasing it
yeah.
in order to become more enlightened. At least that was my studies into it a long
Okay.
time ago.
Okay.
But it's been a few years.
You also have Jesus as our high priest has gone through what we've gone through. And so there's a lot of, and you look at Hebrews chapter 2 and 3, a lot of empathy that the Lord himself has for us, since he shares those same things. And there's a big emphasis on that. Part of the incarnation, we're talking about the birth of Christ, part of the incarnation. I mean, the big thrust was him to the death, burial, and resurrection, providing propitiation for our sins. But there's also that you can't just shake your hand and fist at God and say, you're way up there. You don't understand what I've been going through. That's not true.
And he demonstrated it
He was here.
personally. And that's another thing that sets Christianity out from anything else, is the fact that it's just having God that's willing to sacrifice for humanity is something that is not found in other religions. In other religions, you do something, 99% of them, and definitely if you've got any sort of deity, it's you do something and then the God does something else. It's more ritualistic. It's a vending machine. You put in the right amount of worship and you'll get what you want out.
Yeah.
And that's not the God of Christianity.
No, it's the word become flesh. He is it's not just something that you read in a book. It's not something just on some pillar or something. It is the word becoming flesh and dwelling among us, living among us, and doing more than just that too.
And it's the fact that God did it for us, not that we're need to do it for him, and he doesn't need anything from us.
No.
That's the crazy part. So you got this God who can do everything, who needs nothing.
He wants something from us. He wants that relationship.
Yes.
He wants that closeness, but he doesn't need it.
Yes, just like a father providing for his kid. He doesn't need anything from that kid, but he still wants that relationship with them.
Right.
He still wants to have that connection.
So even though we touched on most of the 10 aspects of grief, the 10 good reasons for grief, and by the way, you can also get locked into depression, and we're not saying that that's a good thing, but there is a time for sorrow, there is a time for grief, and there is a time to grieve with those who are grieving, those to come up beside somebody, put your arm around them, and be with them during that process. Or sometimes they want to be alone too, but so of those 10 things, even though a lot of them were mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and put that up right now, and we'll just walk through them real quickly. Coping and healing, learning how to cope with the hard times in general. If you don't have any hard times in your life, you're just going to become a big marshmallow sitting there watching Netflix all day. I don't know. But building empathy, and that came out a lot in what your guys' response were: perspective and prioritization. And that was another one that came up too, is that, sometimes God's just trying to get your attention on some things, or you need to realign your life. And maybe if you've been ostracized or something, it's like, hello, you're being a jerk. There's a reason why you're being kicked out. Maybe you need to get your life in order. Then you have strength and resilience. Again, this is just like coping and healing. You build up that strength over time, mindfulness and appreciation. You realize how good life is. That was talking about, somebody was talking about, I think it's Helsinki Skies, talking about the light, seeing the light for what it is. No, that might have been Brett Insanity. I don't know. Seeing the light at the end of the tunnel just makes it so much brighter when you are in all that darkness. So that's mindful and appreciation. Spiritual exploration. God's trying to get a hold of you to realize, dude, you don't have the right perspective. You need to realize what's going on here. And so you start seeking him as a process. Creative expression. I have a relative. I don't know if I really want to say what relationship this person is, but he had a very bad breakup with his girlfriend, and suddenly discovered that he knew how to play the guitar and play it really well. And that just opened up a whole brand new thing in his life. And he wouldn't have been able to see that had he not gone through that breakup, the creativity and expression. And you can think of how many songs are come out of just sad experiences and
entire genres.
Yeah. Or even writing as authors. You can get in there and you can write some really good stuff.
Country music, all of country
All
music.
country music.
Basically the entire genre of country music, blues, the blues. I mean, there's...
Yeah.
I mean, again, going back to Blue Christmas. I mean, that is a well-known song.
So it was just said back in the 80s. You play rock music back, they're worshiping Satan. You play country music back, the guy gets his car back, his dog back, and he gets his girl back. So you play
it backwards.
Yep. So then you have learning to adapt as part of the growth and experience of that, and appreciating life's fragility. 8. What you have is precious. You could lose it at any time. And losing loved ones, losing all sorts of things, a job, whatever the situation would be. It's just, we're sometimes riding on a knife's edge on a lot of things. So the depression or the grief that you go through can be a good thing as part of the recovery process as well.
And if you are having the opportunity to speak in someone's life that is going through something like this, you don't know what necessarily will stick. So just be open to them. I think whenever I've been going through some darker points when I was growing up, one of the things that actually was probably the best thing that was said about one of the harder situations that I went through was from a pastor. And he just looked at me and just plainly said, "This sucks. Just this sucks." But just that acknowledgement was it. That's all it took. And it was quite a bit, at least for me personally.
Yeah.
So you never know what necessarily it says. And he didn't have to quote Bible verses or anything like that. It's just, this sucks.
Right. I got a couple of comments here that I want to throw on the screen. The football is, he's talking about, Thomas here is talking, I believe, about the football in Charlie Brown. And it wasn't in this Charlie Brown, but it's another Charlie Brown movie.
It was in this Charlie Brown too.
Was it? No, I don't think so.
I thought it was at the beginning.
No, I just saw it last night. No.
Oh, no. That was the...
It was a different one.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. The football is exemplary of Christ saying, "Turn the other cheek." Charlie Brown will always show tremendous grace towards Lucy in the hope of one day she will let him kick the ball. Oh,
good luck with that.
Yeah. And then Sam Rogers, as Christianity is relationship with God. Yes, yep. It is not so much a rote religion where if you do certain things, you will get rewards. It is more, although there is, we're to live a good, pure life and helping others and stuff like that too. But it is ultimately a relationship with God. It's sort of like working with your father on a project, I think. It's like you have an opportunity to do this with him. You're going to be building this thing and you're working alongside him. I think it's more like that type of relationship.
Yeah, your father could completely do it by himself, but
right,
he'd rather do it with you.
That's what we were talking about prayer earlier, that, you can pray for these people. And the prayer is a part of that. Prayer is you are working, coming alongside and working with God on a certain situation, and you start to see things from his point of view for that other person as you're praying for him. So all this week, we have been talking about putting Christ back into Christmas. Tomorrow is our final with this, and we're going to be looking at the Christmas classic, the one that all draws us closer to Christ. Not at all. Die Hard.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
And we're gonna
gonna
put a
be fun.
twist on this. And if you have not seen this movie, I'm not necessarily suggesting that you do, especially if you do not like violent thrillers, which this is. This is a 1980s classic thriller with Bruce Willis. And we're going to have fun tomorrow going through that. And if you get a chance to join us, if you can, the whole point is to be able to watch through these. And if you are watching these with your friends or family, there are some points that you can draw out, not to be preachy or anything, but just to say, hey, did you see? And bring up conversations.
A road in and go from there.
Right.
Eventually get to the gospel.
Right.
Through that avenue.
Yes. Now, do not forget to like and subscribe and share this if you can. We are making inroads, and we want to be able to get this message out to as many people as we can. So until then, enjoy the rest of the day, and hopefully we will see you tomorrow.